when you start the squat, your hips and knees go at the same time, and your knees go to around where your toes are at, and they stop. The rest is all hips from there. So squat higher, like Alex said, get your knees where they need to go early, and stay bent over.
Mm-hmm. Can you explain to me something about squatting too deep? And I've heard Rip talk about it, that it actually takes the hamstrings out of the squat. Can you explain how that happens?
Yeah. When your knee angle closes, your hamstring shortens. So that's what's causing your hamstring to be taken out of the squat. Whenever your hips stay back and your knee angle stays open, it elongates that hamstring as long as your hips stay tilted back, and then you can use that to bounce out of the bottom.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the rebounding platform, kind of whenever we're talking about the bounce, it's not really generated at the ankle or generated at the knee through the quad. It's generated in the crotch and in the back of the leg. And that's the inner thigh, that medial compartment, and then the posterior compartment with all of your hamstrings. And your glutes are bouncing a little bit too, but just not as much because they're not actually that stretched. And then what you're aiming for is that peak contraction is going to happen at a relatively long length. If you consciously shorten that by either rounding the pelvis under, so if you basically let go of your lumbar spine, you'll make it shorter from the proximal end. If you let your knees close too much, you'll shorten it from the distal end. You will meet some people who are, mobile, for whatever that word is worth, who can generate a bounce deeper, like 2 inches south of what we would normally call depth. They are few and far between, trust me. For most people, that ideal or generally most easily findable bounce is right at depth. Granted, they are sufficiently leaned over enough. If you change the mechanics up, you make the torso longer, you move the bar like 3 inches up the back or something wonky like that, you get a higher heel on the shoe, that bounce point may be now 3 inches lower. But with the low bar mechanics, that bounce is going to be right at depth.
Got it.